Hello, race fans. Hello, EKN Nation. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole for another edition of This Week in Karting. It is episode number 26, September the 28th. And for those of you who may not have listened to a This Week in Karting before, we essentially take everything that's been on the homepage of the website over the last number of weeks, package it all into a podcast that you're able to listen to either on the EKN Radio Network or, of course, into the downloadable podcasts from iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, the different platforms that are available. So it's kind of like taking all your homepage reading over, the last couple of weeks or a month, whatever it may be, and we kind of bring you up to speed on everything that's happening in the sport right now. This edition of This Week in Karting, again, episode 26, presented by A-Maxx Racing. A-Maxx Racing is focused on driver development for karters of all ages. From top-level drivers to grassroots racers or families looking for a team that will help them achieve their goals, A-Maxx Racing can guide you with the absolute best trackside service at affordable prices. No matter the chassis, A-Maxx Racing welcomes you and has the experience to put you at the top of the podium. A-Maxx Racing, all of your karting needs under one tent. All right, David Cole, we always just kind of start things off by looking at the last time we had a show. It's been a little while. It's been almost 3 months since we had a This Week in Karting at the end of June. But of course, once things got rolling in in the first week of July, I hit the road for, I think, almost 9 weekends. We haven't had a lot of time to do these because there's been a lot of content. It just hasn't been a This Week in Karting.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was the last time you were in your home office. I think
it
close
was
to that.
Yep.
When you're mixing the Road to Indy stuff with karting, there's a lot going on. You did a lot of face-to-face with a lot of the racers there. So your days are pretty filled up. So yeah, we had a lot of outlaps. We had a lot of debriefs. We had a lot of face-to-face. So there was a lot of different content going on throughout the website over the last 3 months. So obviously this show kind of took a back seat to till when we could be able to kind of address the content within the industry and the sport. And now that you're back home in the office, I mean, that's really the biggest issue.
Yeah, except for the fact I leave on Thursday. Of course, you're heading to Newcastle for the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals 4. You can probably drop a little news on that as well. I'm heading down to the SuperNat Shootout, even though there isn't a SuperNats, but the SuperNat Shootout at Speed Sports Racing Park. My good friend Alan Rudolph asking me to come down and do some coverage there and some play-by-play. So back on the road, then road to Indy, New Jersey, and then we'll wrap up the season at the end of October for the at the streets of St. Petersburg for that Grand Prix weekend. But DC, a lot of stuff. The reason why I kind of said, hey, let's do a This Week in Karting. A lot of stuff has hit the ground in the last little while, from schedules coming out finally, the schedules for next year. Obviously, a lot of information, events getting canceled, events getting announced. Just really a heck of a lot going on right now.
Well, this is a time, obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic that we've had throughout 2020, things have kind of been shuffled around, so there hasn't been much emphasis on the 2021 calendar yet, but now that we're essentially 3 days away from turning over the calendar to October, that puts a little bit more emphasis on, people got to put in time off at their employments, and teams got to start fixing their 2021 schedules and what drivers they're going to have and where they're going to be going, and so now is the time to kind of crunch that 2021 season.
That's it, right?
Into okay, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, think about this, Dave. How many series would be really done by now? Even USPKS, they'd already be done by now. A lot of these programs would already be done by now, and they've been able. Once you get that last race of the books, then you can really start thinking about the next year. But man, there's been so much going on. SCUSA, of course, working just trying to figure out whether or not they're going to be able to have the SuperNats. That'll be the first thing we jump into. USPKS, as you said, or as I said, we had said earlier in the number of the broadcast, David. They've still got a race to come. Like you've got a USPKS race to do in October still.
Yeah, we have USPKS up to come up. We have new events that are going on. We have the unknown of the month of November coming up.
Yeah, right.
But again, things for the next year typically happen around June and July and August. And obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody was focused on 2020 right now. How can we get in all the races that we need to get in? And so that's kind of been the scramble. Obviously the winter programs have just kind of been waiting for the right opportunities and making sure, certain facilities are in the right zoning areas
Yeah,
and situations like that. So, it's everything's kind of, everything's going to be leading into next year still with a little bit of uncertainty.
Let's jump into this particular episode of This Week in Karting and talk about a couple events, one being announced, one being canceled, and they're connected together. Obviously, September 14th, late in the evening, Superkarts USA releasing a YouTube video with, of course, SCUSA's Tom Kutcher and kind of hosted by Chris Ortenberger of iNovation. Essentially going, it wasn't just an easy announcement. It was more, they wanted to kind of go in depth of what was going on. The cancellation of this year's SuperNationals 24 in Las Vegas was scheduled for mid to late November. But David, a lot going on, and I like the approach. They really took the opportunity instead of just dropping a press release. It was more allowing racers and people in the industry to hear it straight from Tom's mouth about what was really going on. There's a lot of things that a lot of factors to come into play. They could have potentially figured out a way to try to put something on, but Tom's he's been doing it in Las Vegas for a number of years. He knows all the vendors. He knows all the guys he has to get permitted with, and he mentioned how talking about getting permitted, all the permits he needs. They were kind of laughing at him like, I can't, Tom, this isn't going to happen right now. So a lot of financial risk involved, of course. The 50-person limit, just a whole lot, just everything going against, I think, the race to a certain extent.
It's an interesting scenario. Obviously, we look at, NASCAR just held an event there this past weekend, empty grandstands. So attend. The right now there's still a 50-person limit on gatherings, and I really think what it boils down to is what happened in NOLA. We have to go all the way back to the beginning. I mean, we were set up, ready to go. Everything was going to happen. You were in St. Pete, so it was kind of the same scenario.
Yep.
And he had to sit there all day long Friday and deal with, the cancellation of the event. And that was, not only hurt him financially, but it probably emotionally. And it's a strain and a lot of stress to have to deal with that unknown that happened at NOLA with the beginnings of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I think that has a lot to do with it, because he's not only looking for himself and the business itself, but also for the businesses that are all the race teams and shops that were at NOLA that have already been through it. And to be honest, it's really the only karting event that during this pandemic was shut down.
Yeah.
Everything else has gone on without any problems. Some have had to take extreme measures, with masking and a lot of social distancing, but things were put in place in order for that event to continue on, or to begin and to go on to the end, where the opening of the 2020 Pro Tour was shut down on Friday afternoon before it even really began, because
all the costs, right, Dave? The costs already in there, everything, right?
You're paying your mechanics, you're paying your, you got to still drive the hauler to and from there. So there's just a lot of expense to just go there and have everything be canceled on the opening day. So the risk factor.
Yeah. Once bitten, twice shy.
Exactly. So the risk factor of that happening again, especially, in this uncertain time, because you never know, who's going to get pissed off and notify this authority and things get haywire, crossed and nobody knows exactly what's going on. So I understand that type of a scenario. So and like you said, the video really helped to kind of put it personable rather than just reading it on paper.
Well, and I think, they had to assess the risk. And the risk financially for everybody involved, not just SCUSA. We talked about
that's what I said.
USA.
Yeah, the teams.
Yeah, the teams as well. But SCUSA for that first race, all the staff is flown out there. They're all in the hotel rooms. Every team exactly the same. But you think about a team, how many people do they have? Potentially, 20 people part of the team. SCUSA's got 80 people, right? It's a team as well. It's the organizer. And to think about going to the SuperNats, where Tom usually has, I want to say 120 employees. You throw in the fact that, number one, you wouldn't be able to stay at the Rio. You're going to be staying somewhere else. to be able to put all that time, all that money, it's all about risk assessment for himself, for SCUSA, for every organization, for every team, like you said as well. And they already knew that they weren't going to be getting a lot of the Europeans. They're not able to fly over here at this point, so there's always a huge group of European racers coming to the or even out of Australia, New Zealand, and South America, who come to the event. Canada, for God's sakes. All those international racers wouldn't potentially be able to go to the SuperNats. That's going to cut down the number of entries, number of revenue. There's a set revenue for a race at that level. The set revenue, regardless of income revenue, there's set expenses, not revenue. Probably there's set expenses, right? They know what it's going to cost, and it's got to be smart. And can you imagine trying to roll the dice just to have this race? You've got all those set costs that you can't recoup, regardless of what happens. You got less revenue, less entries, and then it gets canceled again on Thursday or Friday. Like, that would be
or even Wednesday. The opening day on track is Wednesday.
That's it. Yep.
And I mean, it could have even
a couple days in. Yeah, we're a couple.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And,
it could have got closed just on moving, just because of the fact of there's so many, this parking lot, which is sat empty since March because the facility has been closed. Maybe there's people parking there, truckers and this and that, but still it's remained empty. And all of a sudden, boom, there's this circuit tents going up, and all these haulers are in there, and there's people there.
Yeah, that's not going to catch anybody's attention.
No, it's an automatic, not to kind of, but it's an automatic Karen alert, and they're like, who do I call?
I thought you were going to say red flag, but yeah, it's a definite Karen moment for sure.
Because I mean, we're every sport's dealing with it right now. High school football, college football, all the other sports like cross country and tennis and golf, and it's just people. I'd love my Friday nights to be able to go to watch a football game. I can't. Oh well, but at least the kids are playing, and unfortunately, it's for our sport. And then you, like you said, you talk about the numbers, 300 drivers alone, if on a bad side, it would be 300 drivers on a bad SuperNats probably right now, because you talk about all the international drivers that come over. So you figure 300 to 400 drivers, and then you add in crew members and family, because, they're not going to just travel with just a mechanic. So it's just, and like you said, getting 100 workers from a hotel, not because they can't stay there, to the facility. I mean, just shuttling all of them to one facility alone is costly.
Yeah, agreed. Well, so out of that, the confirmation, out of that video on YouTube, they also kind of spun a little bit, David, and look forward to 2021 a little bit. We'll actually get into it a little later on, the actual announcement that came up just last week in terms of the actual, on the weekend, actually, the actual events and the dates for next year. But they kind of teased the fact that 2021 Pro Tour schedule will be NOLA, Utah, and Newcastle. We'll talk about those dates. But they also were forthright in saying they are doing what they can to potentially put a special event on to close out the 2020 season. So to have one more kind of last pop of SuperKarts USA Racing for IAME racers, for shifter racers, the whole program, they are working on one more race. I would assume likely somewhere in the southwest.
Yeah, still waiting on word. There might have been some rumblings going on this weekend with the Pro Kart Challenge wrapping up their 2020 season at Buttonwillow. So we got, obviously there was the 2021 announcement that we'll talk about later that was probably done at their drivers meeting Saturday morning and then hit social media that afternoon. Tom likes doing that. I'm not quite sure why, but he does that. But I'm sure there's some rumblings about what's going to happen. We're just waiting on confirmation and an official announcement from them.
So, again, the event I mentioned earlier, where I'm actually heading to on Thursday at Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston, Texas, the SuperNat Shootout. That was an event that Alan Rudolph came up with, sat down and wanted to get a big event down at his track and hooked up with Tom Kutcher. And it was kind of, the concept was to kind of be a precursor for the SuperNats. You're going to go to Vegas, it's a track you've never been on before, come down to Speed Sports, maybe you've never been there before, so you get that, you practice up those muscles of learning a new track quickly. It was going to be all the SuperKarts USA categories. He'd work with Tom to get actual entry packages into the SuperNationals. That race is still going on. It's this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Speed Sports, as I said. The tickets for the SuperNats will roll over into 2021 or potentially that race that they're going to do later on this year. Full SCUSA class structure. And, Alan's been on the phone, been talking to a lot of people. He was at the USPKS event up at Road America, so I had a chance to sit down with Mike Speed. The guys in Speed Concepts are coming. Crosslink's going to be there. CRG Nordam's going to be there. Of course, Full Gas Motorsports will be there as well. So, David, it's a new program, a new race that they're trying to put on at that track. They want to have a big race. They got the Texas Sprint Racing Series, which has been very well attended this year. But Alan wants drivers from all around the country to come and check out his facility. It's an amazing place. Totally paved paddock, 2 racetracks with the competition track, the rental track, and that area that there's hotels going up beside the track soon, and they're working on that. The water park's already open. It's a venue that we keep saying is kind of it's that best kept secret in karting right now because it just hasn't had that big national yet.
Just big event, period. It's just something that, you've done some Texas Pro Kart Challenge races there, a couple of them, I believe, and Texas Sprint Racing Series has been there. They were there twice this year, actually. So, but it's just outside of Texas, nobody really has been there for any particular event. And so that, I think that's what they're hoping for with the SuperNat shootout, is to get that national attention from, obviously from the race teams that they want to come there and see the facility. And there's talks of more programs that are looking at that facility for 2021. And we're still, obviously waiting to hear schedules be announced, but and again, as we talked about with Alan during our face-to-face, he wants this to be an annual event. Where he wants a good October is a good month to go to Texas. Get you a little bit. It's not hot. It's not extremely humid down there at the time, so it's a good time to visit Texas. Normally it's a little rainy and colder up here in the northern hemisphere, so it's not bad to head down there. So. It as you said, it's a hidden gem right now, and hopefully this event, alerts a lot of race teams and programs that are out there that this is a place to visit, whether it be any of the months, 12 months out of the year.
If you're an IMU racer looking for an event, come on down. As we said, second, third, and fourth, 6 rounds of practice on Friday, qualifying Heat 1 and Heat 2 on Saturday, Heat 3, and the main events on Sunday. And it'll all be on EKN Trackside Live. I'll be doing the play-by-play throughout the weekend down there. We'll be streaming it on one of our live channels. We have the 2 channels, so make sure to look at our social media. We'll put it out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The exact link David and I haven't really talked yet about exactly which channel we're going to use for both races, because he'll be at the Cup Karts North America race, and we'll be streaming that as well. So again, we'll be heading down to the SuperNats shootout. They get the green flag, even with what's happening with the SuperNats. That event still on. When we get back after this break, folks, we're going to be back to Texas, talk a little bit more about the Texas Sprint Racing Series, as David had mentioned, and then we'll also talk about one of the legendary facilities in North American karting, getting a bit of a facelift here this fall. Stay tuned. More to come here on the EKN Radio Network. Feel like you're racing alongside the many legends that have called CRG home. With direct factory support, the CRG Nordam operation is the North American distributor for all CRG products related to karting and is based just outside Houston, Texas. The complete racing chassis line, including the famous Road Rebel shifter cart, is available through CRG Nordam. The growing FS4 Briggs & Stratton focused chassis is expanding worldwide, including right here in North America. Many tracks, indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the Centurion rental cart line through CRG. New for the 2020 season is the Mini Hero for cadet racing, homologated for FIA competitions around the world. Head over to kartcrg.com or find them on all social media networks. The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history in motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, The Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level and track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of the race day. To learn more about the 206 engine and to find a North American dealer near you, head to briggsracing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you? Welcome back to episode 26 of This Week in Karting, the podcast where we grab all the stories that have made their way to the homepage at ekartingnews.com, package them all together for a nice podcast, perfect for driving into work, driving home, whatever it may be. Right now, of course, as always, streaming first on the EKN Radio Network Live, the only 24/7 karting radio station in the world. And then we'll turn it into a podcast available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Podbean. David, let's jump in and talk a little bit about the Texas Sprint Racing Series. They actually crowned their 2020 champions.
Yeah, we just talked about Texas Sprint Racing Series going to the Speed Sports facility. They wrapped up their 2020 season there. Got actually 5 rounds of racing in for the 2020 season. Obviously a little bit chaotic. They got their official start of the season off at NOLA the weekend before the Pro Tour opener was supposed to happen. And then their schedules took them to the Speed Sports for a second round. They had a double round weekend at the North Texas Kartways in Denton, Texas, and then wrapped it up just a couple weeks ago at Speed Sports. All champions of the series earned the 2021 TSRS Series package. Some drivers actually earning IAME International Final tickets and SuperNationals entries, IKF Grand National entries, along with Evinco tires and much, much more from their big prize purse that they had for the 2020 season. Interesting, though, a lot of the championships, even though it was 5 rounds, counted the heat races, even bonus points for qualifying as well, a lot of the championships actually ended up in ties.
I know, when I read that, I was like, what?
You wouldn't think that having 5 rounds. So you have your odd number of races, but still had, I want to say up to about 4 different ties in different categories. So pretty outstanding. And those were some of the most competitive categories that they had as well too. So very, very interesting season for the Texas Sprint Racing Series, able to get that 5 rounds of racing in amid the COVID-19 pandemic. But again, probably another growing season for them as well.
Well, yeah, it's a program that runs the IAME categories and the Briggs 206 as well. Brandon Tyner, and a lot of the names you're going to hear when we kind of throw some names off, especially in the IAME categories, are the drivers you're hearing at the front of a lot of the national stuff as well. It's been that way for a lot of years. That there's such talent down in Texas, always has been. Maybe it's just the level of competition and the kind of the focus on the sport and some of the great racetracks. Brandon Tyner getting the X30 senior title, Noah Baker in X30 junior, Cooper Shipman in Mini Swift, and Jack Iliff taking the Micro Swift championship. Not surprising. Jack, of course, is he 2-time now or 2-time, right?
Two-time, yeah.
Micro Pro Tour champion.
Yep.
Yeah, adding the Texas Sprint Racing Series to the resume as well. In KA100 Senior, former national number 1 in the SCUSA Pro Tour, Austin Osborne winning the title. Alex Stanfield in KA100 Junior, and Doug Foxworth, David, in KA100 Master. Good lineup, though, as well in 206.
Yeah, 206, they got 4 different categories. They go senior, master, junior, and cadet. They had Ethan Wolf with the championship in senior category. DJ Ortiz, a name that many people know from the sport, been a longtime veteran and industry member, winning the Masters division. Robert Warren Jr. earning the junior championship, while cadet was won by Reagan Seville.
Kid Kart champion William Smith. And again, to cap off that 2020 program for the Texas Sprint Racing Series, like you said, kind of, David, growing some stronger roots and getting some good support. Going to look at the racetracks too, right? Started off in NOLA in Louisiana, then Speed Sports and North Texas Karters doing what they could to get those events together. So kudos to them for getting that program done. A lot of prizes, as you said, and a lot of momentum for that series moving into 2021. David, we always like to talk about some of the, new racetracks, big racetracks, whatever it may be. But you and I are also of the same mind where it's always great to have a major national track, but our sport needs some of the smaller, maybe legendary smaller tracks that maybe play a little bit better towards 206 racing, the 100cc two-cycle racing, and one of those is TNT Kartways in West Quincy, Illinois. No, Missouri, right? It's on the Missouri side. Yeah.
Well, the track is on the Missouri side, correct?
It's on the Missouri side. The Quincy race is on the Illinois side.
There you go.
In talking to Terry Trader, now granted, TNT Kartways, legendary track, as I said, you go back and look at some of the history, some of the races that they've had there, amazing events. But this track's still a vibrant part of karting in that area. And, Margay Ignite Challenge goes there. They have their own events. But, David, a pretty serious renovation. They repaving 2/3 of that racetrack.
Well, to quote Terry, their idea is to make Quincy a destination again, because it was known back in the day as the karting capital of the USA. Everything went through Quincy. You had all the different professional programs, all the IKF, WK, Grand Nationals. They were all held at least once, twice, maybe even more at the TNT Kartways. It was just kind of the mecca of the sport during its heyday. And really, it's been since the first renovations, in the early 1970s that it was, the mecca of the sport. And now, they've decided to invest in the future of the facility. They see, obviously the grassroots program is building back up, and the rebirth of the Quincy Grand Prix has kind of helped, the region and get that excitement for karting again. And so they've invested for the future. Doing 2/3 repaving of the racetrack, and then putting sealer on the rest of it. That wasn't as bad as what they had to replace. So all new paving on 2/3 of the course, along with new curbing around the entire facility. Going to make some other different renovations to the place as well, expand maybe a little bit of the paddock. And then again, in long-term goals, in maybe 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years, depending on how things shake out, they're looking at possibly adding to the racetrack itself and expanding the circuit. So lots of changes happening at TNT, another historic facility. As you said, they're just looking at trying to bring back some glory back to the racetrack, and maybe getting some of the bigger regional programs to visit there in 2021.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. One of the interesting things, of course, getting that construction started on August the 10th. And David, we've seen this before. People will do a repave, and the minute it's paved, they want to go racing on it. And talking to Terry, he wanted to wait as long as he possibly could. I know they talked about potentially doing a full grand opening in October. That's what they were looking at. But in talking to Terry, I said, what's the plan? Because I want to let it cure as long as I possibly can. Hopefully, we get a little bit of rain. We'll get what we need to make sure the track is cured. And he goes, but what's happening for sure is I'm the first guy that drives it. Terry's like, I'm the first guy that's going to be driving this thing. We'll bring Keith Freeber over, some of the people that have been around the sport for a long time. He even talked about trying to get Reggie Folks back in a kart. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but at least a golf cart. He said he'll give him a golf cart ride around.
Yeah, golf cart ride. Yeah,
right. It'd be cool to get for Terry to get out there and turn the first laps again. We talk about Terry being, the promoter of the Quincy Grand Prix, and those who are new to the sport don't know his legendary career, how many championships he won, IKF Duffy's. This is the guy that was, one of the absolute elite in our sport back in the 70s.
He certainly was. And again, like they said, they're looking at doing a grand opening possibly in October. But like you said, let it cure, let it sit there, let people think about it and want to get back. And obviously, with the weather changing over, it'll probably be the only time really this year to get on the racetrack. And then get to racing. They'll have to wait all the way until maybe March, most likely April, before they are able to enjoy it fully. So,
talking about going into 2021 when we're getting started. After this quick break, we're going to come back and we got some calendars for you. Challenge of the Americas released theirs back in May. Florida Winter Tour with Rock Cup, they've had their schedule put out. SuperKarts USA doing the same. So after this break, we'll hit on the 2021 calendars as we get set to go racing next year. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We ship daily to ensure that you get your order as quickly as possible, and we are constantly adding new products to our online store. We specialize in IAME engines, Tillett seats, ceramic product line, OTK products, Briggs & Stratton engines, and of course, our championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fit your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of many drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Most recently, Leading Edge Motorsports and Greg Bell helped guide Danny Formel to victory at both the Rock the Rio and the SuperKarts USA SuperNationals 23. Based in Lodi, California, Leading Edge Motorsports is the Western importer for IP karting, which includes the Praga and Formula K chassis brands. Leading Edge Motorsports is already looking forward to the 2021 season, which begins with the Challenge of the Americas, the premier winter series on the West Coast under the Rock Cup USA banner. Leading Edge Motorsports is also eyeing the Florida Winter Tour and several other programs. Arrive and drive services to kart preparation and driver coaching are all available under the LEM tent throughout 2021. Greg Bell has been building racing engines for over 20 years, and he's excited with the continuing growth of his new Mega Power race motor building program. It doesn't matter what color your chassis is, choose Mega Power to get to the front. For more information, click over to leadingedgemotorsports.com and find them on Facebook. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode number 26 of This Week in Karting. It's September 28th, 2020. My name is Rob Howden, joined as always by David Cole. DC, let's start rocking it with some of the calendars. So you mentioned people were kind of focused on what was going on this year, and they weren't kind of able to get schedules done. Andy Saisman from the Challenge of the Americas actually getting his dates announced back in May, so he was kind of on the ball really quickly. A 3-race program, January, February, and March as usual. The 14th season for the Challenge of the Americas, and the 4th under the Rock Cup banner.
Yeah, went back to the typical annual days that the Challenge has been throughout its 14 seasons, which is the last weekend of every month between January, February, and March. So that'll be the dates for the 2021 season. Dates or locations are almost set, 100%. Still waiting on just a couple details to be cleared out regarding a couple of the facilities. But January 22nd to the 24th will be the opening round. February 26th to the 28th will be the second stop, and then the final 2 rounds will be held on March 26th through the 28th.
So Challenge of the Americas is the West Coast Rock Cup Winter Series. The East Coast Rock Cup Winter Series is the Florida Winter Tour. That program has gone through a number of different iterations. It was initially SuperKarts USA. Then, of course, it rolled in with Bill Wright kind of running the SCUSA categories. Then they almost kind of blended with Stars of Karting for a little bit. And then it became a Rotax program. And now it's a rock program for the Florida Winter Tour. So it's evolved with its different ownership. David, they got their dates down. So essentially the Challenge of the Americas and the Florida Winter Tour kind of work together, trying to be about 2 weeks apart from each other. That way, rock drivers can go back and forth. They'll get started back again in Pompano Beach at Al Casino like they did last year, that parking lot race at the casino, January the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th, 4-day events. Ocala Grand Prix, middle of February, David, 18 to 21 at Ocala Grand Prix. And then back to Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. They made that debut event last year. It's the week before the opening round of the NTT IndyCar Series at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. So trying to get some little bit of synchronicity with that event, maybe try to play off a little bit of the momentum and the excitement that gets developed in St. Petersburg when the IndyCar program gets fired up there each year.
Yeah, a very cool atmosphere of what I saw and what we heard from people who were there. Obviously, temporary circuits are a little different. And a little bit more exciting because, again, it's not a typical racetrack, and you got different scenery to see around you, and being right there, like you said, in St. Petersburg, IndyCar haulers essentially coming there as they're leaving. All the walls and everything are built up for the streets of or the St. What's the name of it? Sorry again.
It's all right. Grand Prix of St.
Petersburg. There we go. See, I'm thinking of streets of Long Beach, and get the two mixed up. But so it's a great little destination, a great way to finish off the winter months, especially down being in Florida. So the interesting one is the Ocala Grand Prix. We haven't really heard too much going on at the facility right now. As far as we know, we heard a lot of rumors that they were going to shut down completely. But I guess with that being on the schedule, they're going to be opening up soon. But we still are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that facility as the 2020 continues to close out.
As we had said this past weekend during the Pro Kart Challenge event for SuperKarts USA at Buttonwillow, they announced essentially their 2021 program. Once again, back into South Florida at Homestead Karting, which is what is it? It's AMR Homestead Miami Kartplex, presented by MG Tires. I believe that's the official name of the track.
AMR Motorplex works too.
No,
I know. I'm just saying the short name.
Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. It's actually not Carplex. It's Motorplex. That's true.
I said the short.
That's true. AMR MP. There we go.
Your short name is Rob.
Wow. All right. You can do it that way.
Is Rob your official name?
Yeah, but I'm not branded. You got to take care of the branding.
That's what I'm talking about. See,
you got to take care of the branding.
Rob is your branding name. If I wanted to yell at you, I'd use your full name, right?
Wow. All right. Just don't do that. I don't think you've ever yelled at me, which is probably why you still have your job. Good for you.
I'll yell at you off the air.
January 8th, 9th, and 10th will be the opening round of the SuperKarts USA Winter Series. So get a doubleheader, round 1 and 2. And it's a 2-weekend program. They're back again February, a month later, February 2nd, 12th to the 14th, rather. They are, again, back at the same racetrack in Homestead for rounds 3 and 4. I'm sure the entire SuperKarts USA Pro Tour program will be up on the docket. I don't know whether or not the Margay Ignite program will be back. I'll have to make some confirmations on that. They were a great addition to the 2020 program before COVID. When we were down there in Florida, we'll have to see whether that locks and loads. But David, they also locked in their dates for the Pro Tour for 2021.
Yeah, nothing regarding categories has really been confirmed, just their dates. But 2021 Pro Tour. 3 events, as we are typical to seeing since the introduction of the Winter Nationals, which started, I believe, 2017.
I think 17, right?
I think so. 4th. Man, I should know this.
You should.
Anyway, but what that date is actually going to be different from what we're used to. We're used to going early in March to a warmer place, for at least for us. This year, it's moving to the end of March 26th to the 28th, and it will be back at NOLA Motorsport down in New Orleans. So heading back there, essentially the same schedule as what we saw as far as locations for 2020. May 21 through the 23rd, another date change. Typically, it's the first weekend of May, and that's been really since, I think, the early days of the Pro Tour that I can think of, because my anniversary is always the opening or the May 3rd. So it's always the first weekend of the Spring Nationals weekend, typically for the Pro Tour. So that date gets moved down to May 21st through the 23rd, heading to the Utah Motorsports Campus in Utah outside Salt Lake City. And then ending up again with Newcastle Motorsports Park on its typical August weekend, August 13th through the 15th. With the final 2 rounds held for the Summer Nationals.
And not surprising, if we cross our fingers and get back at it again, the 2021 SKUSA Super Nationals, the 24th edition of the race, set to go November 16th to 21st back in Las Vegas, Nevada again. Will it be at the Rio? Will the Rio even be open at that point? We don't even know, but will it be torn down? Will they have blasted it with dynamite? I don't know. So that remains to be seen. As you said, David, still categories still remain to be locked in for the Winter Series. I'm pretty sure we know what's going to be happening on the Pro Tour unless they make some adjustments. Otherwise, there's SKUSA dropping their schedule as well for 2021.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen with Vegas? Obviously all the different rumors, and obviously waiting to see what happens with the life of the Rio. As we know, during that video, that was kind of one of the emphasis of the SuperNationals being canceled in Las Vegas this year. So, yeah, again, the schedule only says SuperNationals, doesn't even say the number. Didn't say if they're calling it SuperNationals 24. So that's an interesting note. And then, of course, it just says Las Vegas, Nevada. So location to be determined as well.
There you have it. There you go. David, a lot of announcements coming up, which kind of prompted us to get another one of these This Week in Karting podcasts knocked out. So a pretty major announcement coming from Bridgestone that they will discontinue their manufacturing of kart tires in 2022. I've been in the sport myself as an active driver since 1995, right? So I'm at 25 years, and I ran Bridgestones. I started. I think I ran Dunlops the first year. I ended up I was on Bridgestones. This is a legendary name, and of course, passenger tires, car tires, whatever. But man, legendary name in karting as well, Bridgestone. And we're not going to see them after 2022.
Well, legendary in the motorsports world, really, to be honest. And typically, you saw that with a lot of manufacturers being involved in motorsports. They would somehow have a connection to karting, and Bridgestone has made that announcement to discontinue kart tires by the end of 2022. So it is a major hit to the karting industry as far as name branding. We just talked about your name being a brand, and Bridgestone is a major brand around the world, and when it comes to motorsports. So it's certainly interesting to see. We saw Dunlop they're essentially done with karting. As far as tires, now we're seeing Bridgestone. So, me and you talked a little bit when the announcement came. It's almost like, the sport now is kind of relying on its own. You have all these different tire manufacturers that are strictly tires for karting. Don't really have any general tire construction that we know of that they do. Certainly we talk about MG tires, talk about Vega, LeConte, Maxxis. They're into motorsports, as we know with motocross and bikes and stuff like that. But essentially, the karting tires right now are on their own. It's almost like the engine side of the business as well.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%. That was big news to hit for sure. Of course, some of the organizations that are really going to be affected, we're going to have to see how they kind of adjust to it, David. A lot of racing at FIA. Challenge of the Americas runs on Bridgestone. Rock Cup runs on Bridgestone. WK Manufacturers Cup. A lot of clubs around North America affected as well. I'm sure they'll be able to make the transition. But primarily for me, it's the FIA and the Rock Cup program. I think it's going to be really interesting to see which way they end up going, because the Bridgestone tire, very, very connected to Vortex and Rock Cup competition.
And when, too. That's going to be the interesting thing, because obviously the statement said at the end of 2022, so December 31 of 2022. But I have a stinking feeling that, at the beginning of 2022 is when some of these programs are going to implement new tire programs. It could be, WKA could hold out to the end of 2022. We don't know. So it's kind of a wait and see on how they progress. Obviously, the next, probably 6 months are going to be busy with deciding on where these organizations go with their tire programs. So
I have to believe a lot of conversations are happening now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Over the next 6 months, I'm sure the minute it happens,
2021 for all we know, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I think it's almost too soon. It's kind of a quick turnaround. And then as we've seen in the sport, people don't like these quick turnarounds,
Yeah, well.
So I would hope that they would plan for something at the end of 2021, so that way for the 2022 season, before all the tires are completely gone, that they've made that transition over to something new. So again, we'll see how the different organizations handle this. Obviously, FIA is a completely different ball game with the way they have their tire programs. They obviously have different manufacturers they work with, but Bridgestone being one of them, and obviously working with the OTK kart group directly through them. So we'll see, if what kind of changes happen with that.
David, one of the things you and I have talked about a lot is maybe increasing our focus a little bit on the American and North American drivers that are racing abroad, right? Because the one thing we had back in the day with the magazine, we always had a Euro Pass kind of section where we had more coverage of what was happening in Europe. But there's a number of drivers, top drivers from the U.S. Who are racing over in Europe and are actually having a bunch of success as well. Ugo Chukwu being one of them. Connor Zilic, of course, with a couple of wins in the Karting Academy program. Let's take some time here before we go to our final break in the action to talk about the USA drivers that are winning in Europe right now.
Well, American drivers have been going to Europe, as you said, back in the early days during the magazine run. We had a number of drivers racing over in Europe. Gerard Carlton was one that we followed for a number of years back in the mid 2000s, I believe it was. After his run at the Stars of Karting program, and essentially was there over almost a decade, I think, racing in Europe. So that was kind of one we followed. We always would see drivers moving over there for one or two events. Now with the, now that the Academy Trophy is one of them, one of the programs that has certainly helped bring awareness for drivers going over to Europe. This program takes essentially one driver from different countries throughout the world to take part in this spec program under the FIA. And it's really kind of grown. It first was under the Paralympic banner and had a number of, obviously drivers win at that level and kind of move their way up through the motorsports ranks. And even now, I think we see a Formula One driver that was in the Academy Trophy at one point as well, too. I'm trying to think if it was Leclerc or Russell that did it. Might have been somebody else, but anyway,
I don't have that connection.
I know I couldn't think it off the top of my head, but anyway, the Academy Trophy is certainly a program that has kind of developed drivers all on the spec package this year now, or the last couple of years on the OTK product with Vortex Power. It's great to see. We saw Luca Mars do it last year, was among the top contenders. A broken arm actually took him out of the last round, so kind of hurt his championship chase, but this year, we certainly have a driver in the hunt for the championship, with Connor Zilic winning the opening two rounds of the FIA Academy Trophy, winning in Italy and then winning in Germany. So essentially has a solid lead in the championship with those two victories. Has the final round coming up this weekend in Lonato, October 2nd through the 4th. So we're hoping for a third victory. If not, at least a solid round of racing to be able to clinch that championship and become the first USA driver to earn that title.
Yeah, pretty amazing. The second race was actually, I think it was Belgium, right? In Genk?
Sorry, Genk, yes, in Belgium.
But then you said, Dave, this weekend, I'll be down at Speed Sports. You'll be racing yourself. We'll definitely be watching social media, watching online to find out what happens with Connor, because what a tremendous performance to get things rolling for this program. Couple of wins. This is big. This would be absolutely huge if he's able to win this championship. And I think we're all wishing, crossing our fingers and wishing the best of luck for Connor this weekend in Lonato. Another driver, David, we kind of watched coming through the ranks a little bit up here in the Rotax programs, right? In the Rotax, in the Micro and the Mini. Ugo Chukwu actually winning the FIA European Championship in the OK Junior class. The World Championships are coming up in Portugal, first week of November. But, obviously, Ugo, when he was with us running primarily in the U.S., very young, very quiet young man. We had him on a couple interviews. But otherwise, man, he does all his talking on the racetrack. And that's impressive. OK Junior and the European Championship. That's just, to me, absolutely stellar for him.
Yeah, I think you're right. He does all his talking on the racetrack. I think It was so we got to see him. I think the first time was 2013 Rotax Grand Nationals at Mooresville, and then saw him work his way up. And then I want to say 2018. I think the first year that the Challenging the Americas went to the Rock Cup platform, he was the junior Rock champion and was able to dominate there. And then essentially around that time is when he's first started heading to Europe. Actually, I believe lives in Europe now, but still carries the U.S. banner as a dual citizen, and has been racing in Europe for the last essentially 2 seasons full time, and just has steadily gotten better as the years go on, or as the races have gone on, and it's been interesting to watch his progression, beating again racing against the best in the world essentially in Europe. During in the OK, I think I want to say he jumped right up to junior. Yeah. So he was in junior right away, but it's been great to watch him.
2018, I'm on challengekarting.com, which is the website for Challenging the Americas, and indeed scoring the championship in the junior rock category. The thing about Ugo is he's just, like I said, he's quiet, focused young man on the racetrack, just so precise. It's not overly aggressive, very patient, is very assertive when he makes his passes, right? Very surgeon-like. So to see him win the Challenge of the Americas Championship in junior in 18, and then he finds himself as a European champion here in 2020. This is just tremendous. I'd love to find out what the focus is. What is F1 the plan? Is that where he's trying to get to? Whatever it may be, he's going to get another shot of putting a little more gold on the resume, David, on November the 6th to 8th in Portimao, Portugal. The CIK FIA World Championships in November. Pretty stellar if he'd be able to back up a European championship with a World Championship as well.
Yeah, looking to join Logan Sargent as the only USA driver to win the junior World Championship.
There it is. Other drivers over there as well, David. Give us an update a little bit on Kai Sorensen.
Yeah, Kai Sorensen on the podium at Lonato for the WSK Euro Series in the 60 Mini category, finished 5th in the series standings. James Agozi, another American racing over there in the 60 Mini category, scored a top 10 at the same weekend, finished 9th in the championship standings. So 2 Americans in the top 10 for the WSK Euro Series in the 60 Mini category. That event also had a number of Americans jumping over to overseas, over the pond. Brent Cruz, Carson Morgan, Cole Morgan, and Connor Zillage as well, were all racing at the WSK Euro Series event. So nearly double digits for USA drivers racing in Europe that weekend. The WSK Open Cup is going to take place in Adria, November 23rd through the 29th, and the WSK Final Cup in Sarno, December 10th through 13th. So I'm sure we're going to see some more Americans there. I'm going to guess Connor Zillage will be at the World Championships. He did some of the Euro events as well. Didn't quite get the racing luck he wanted to during those events, so hopefully he'll have better luck at the World Championships coming up in November. I'm not sure what Brent Cruz is going to be going back over there. He'll probably be heading back here if he's not already. But he did a couple events over there as well too. So again, Americans are doing very well in Europe despite the challenging year that the 2020 has been.
Indeed, look for continued and increasing coverage of the U.S. and North American drivers who are going to race in Europe here in 2021 or 2020 and 2021. We'll come up with another editorial package to give a little more focus, more spotlight on our drivers who are running at the world and international level in Europe. Final break of the action of this edition of This Week in Karting. When we get back, we'll go over all the editorial that came out on EKN over the last little while. We'll go do our EKN podcast review. We'll tell you what's coming up on the EKN radio network, and we'll tell you where we are going, what's coming up on ekartingnews.com. Thank you so much, folks. Stay with us. One more little segment to come after this break. Club karting has been taken to a new level in the Cincinnati area. The Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati is proud to present the Pro-Am Karting Championship, a 4-event series from June to October that will serve the area of Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. The Pro-Am Karting Championship will provide categories based around the IAME and Briggs & Stratton engine platforms. Utilizing the SuperKarts USA rules and partnering up with the Margay Ignite Karting program, the Pro-Am Karting Championship has something for new drivers and those experienced racers as well. The first 2 races are already complete, so don't miss our final 2 events of 2020. We're racing on October 3rd and October 31st. Make sure to head to mccproamkarting.com to learn more about this exciting new club racing program and to get registered for our next event.
Located in Mooresville, North Carolina, on-site at GoPro Motorplex, Kart Sport North America features over 6,000 square feet of retail space. Along with being the official race team and distributor for the Kart Republic chassis, they offer full retail sales, kart service and storage, and products from the top brands in the sport such as CZ Chain, Talon Sprockets, SKF bearings, and Prisma tire gauges. If you want to take your racing to the next level, they also offer driver training and coaching programs available trackside at GoPro Motorplex. They have a massive inventory, so head to their online store at kartsportna.com to get same-day shipping of the parts and components that you need. While you're there, check out their used section of karts, engines, parts, and accessories. Kart Sport North America. Top quality products, winning brands, and professional driver development services.
Welcome back to This Week in Karting on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole, episode number 26 of This Week in Karting. It's been a while. Last one was at the end of June, on the road for most of July and August, and then back here in September, back home in my last half of the month. I've been at the home office here in Cambridge. We've been cranking out a lot of content, as David had said earlier, but wanted to lock down with a lot of stuff happening to get one of these This Week in Karting podcasts done, get it on the EKN Radio Network. So perfect for your morning or afternoon commute to work. David, let's have a look. I'll kind of throw it into your hands here. A lot of editorial going out on the website, a lot of podcasts, a lot of stuff on the EKN Radio Network as well.
Well, you can at least talk about the first one.
I guess I can. Yeah, that was kind of cool. It's funny that I wasn't even looking at it when it happened. You know what I mean? I guess I've been doing this too long, but indeed you had that date locked in. And indeed, we just went by the 20th anniversary, 20 years for ekartingnews.com. We picked it up about 4 years after they got rolling. So we've been at the helm for 16 years, but yeah, that was a pretty cool milestone. 20 years for EKN.
Essentially 16 for Howden Media Group as the owner of the website, and my term as the managing editor, I guess. It was interesting. I was looking back, like, when did I actually start? I had to go back to those first invoices I sent, and it's funny to look at those and just, because again, the website has changed. It's a different website, so I don't actually have access to the early years of the reign, but we try and do the Wayback Machine to
right,
get the screen captures of what was going on the homepage that day, or certain days that it has it. And it was pretty cool to kind of go down that and talk with Glenn Holland, the previous owner, and their mindset going into creating ekartingnews.com.
Indeed, yeah, and all the stuff that they were planning on doing. They eventually locked down and decided they wanted to move on to do different things. I do remember, I think that when we first got the site and went to the SuperNats, and we sat down, myself, Tim Blaney, who was the editor of SuperCard Illustrated magazine at that point, and then of course you were handling EKN, which we had just picked up, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do with our EKN trackside coverage, and I want to say, did we do some work from within Ron Joint's toter home at that point?
That was our base. That was our home base. He had a toter home.
Decal Works. Yep.
With Decal Works. The back of it was the toy area, and then the front was the living compartment. We took over their desk and their table to put up the laptop to be able to crunch out updates and post results from which was unheard of really at that time. Posting results same day. So we didn't do that. We had obviously we had nothing for that with SuperCars Illustrated. We had a website that was just for the magazine itself, but we weren't given lots of information on a regular basis. But yeah, that was kind of a big turning point in what we did, and a lot of more immediate information delivery. And it was again 16 years ago, David. That's cool. Yeah, now we can't do it quick enough.
Yeah, now it's got to be live,
old, right? We're the old guy. Let me get out my Windows 95.
Yeah, back in my day. But yeah, again, that's the cool thing about this. 16 years, and you think about 20 years for the website, 16 years for David, you and I on the website. We eventually shut the magazines down and went straight websites, and it's just the evolution of what we've been doing, content delivery. From, I used to go to the SCUSA races, come back, take all the photos, take all the film in. You kids that don't know what film is, take the film into the Photoshop, and the photo mat, and they would print out I take like 10 rolls of film, and hopefully I got good ones, and then scan everything to go in the magazine. And now it's, now we're doing live interviews on Facebook and YouTube and whatever it may be. And who knows what we're going to be doing next. We'll see. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea. I can tell you that we're not TikToking. That I know. We're not.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't done TikTok yet. I thought we
can just stay away from. We can just stay away from that. I mean, you can't dance. I'm too. No, good. I can't. Yeah, so it just won't work. Anyway, editorial throughout the last 3 months, we had driver rankings come back. We were able to push out rankings on August 28th with Jake French, and Arias Dumejian among the top drivers in shifter kart and tag competition. Put out a couple of driver of the months. We had Scott Kopp in July of 2020 for his performance at the USPKS opener in Newcastle. And then Bryson Morris in August, scoring the double championships at the SCUSA Pro Tour program. Senior rookie, earning both the X30 and the KA100 titles for SCUSA Pro Tour.
That's a conversation. That's a conversation we have to have pretty soon, David, because we're done for racing in September, right? But this weekend's October, so we got to have a little look back to see who we think is driver of the month for September.
We'll be doing that next week, looking at the different drivers that perform this month. Not too many races to go from, but we'll be able to pick something out. Obviously, and then trackside coverage throughout the last 3 months. We had the USPKS Hoosier State Grand Prix at Newcastle, the USAC Karting Battle at the Brickyard at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, SCUSA Pro Tour Summer Festival at Newcastle, the USPKS Badger State Grand Prix at Road America, and then our last trip, which was the 2020 Capri Tools US Rotax Grand Nationals in Charlotte. So all that coverage is on the website to view.
And in kind of keeping with our talk about the fact that content delivery has evolved so much over the last number of years. Again, podcasts, one of the big things we did start podcasts in the 2000s, late 2000s. We were doing Happy Hour with Howden podcasts. It wasn't live. It wasn't. We weren't doing it like we are right now online.
You couldn't do it on your phone. No, you had to go. You had to go to our website, click on it, and listen. You couldn't, you couldn't take it into the shower with you. You couldn't listen to it on the car unless you put it on a CD. Now you could have burned it onto a CD and took it to the car. God. Now, if anybody did that, they were a diehard e-karting news fan.
100% they were. No kidding. Yeah. So now we're, as you know, now it's a 24/7 EKN radio network, which I could never have believed in either. Our last This Week in Karting was back in June, as we said. We continue to do our outlap shows, which is our preview shows. We'll do a couple of those this week for the races that are coming up. We did the outlap, of course, all available on podcast form now for the Hoosier State Grand Prix, as David had said, the Pro Tour, USPKS Badger State Grand Prix. We did the debriefs, which are again our
post race,
our post race reviews. And even for the Pro Tour, David, that back-to-back weekends, you and I were getting home from the track at 8 or 9 o'clock and doing debrief lives live on Facebook. And those were a lot of fun. A lot of people interacting with us on those.
Yes. We just like the championship, we did 5 of 6.
Yeah, that's it. I was too tired. I was too tired one night to do
it. I'm gonna hose you on that forever.
I may have had too many IPAs. Let's put it that way. I was a bit marbly mouthy.
Yeah, you should have went like Busch or Coors that night.
Natty Light.
Yeah, you should have went Natty Light.
Yeah, Natty Light. I remember that idea. A bunch of face-to-face shows, and that's one of the things we're doing now. When we do our live face-to-face shows on Facebook or on YouTube, whichever we do, we then use the audio from that and put that onto the radio network as well. Really kind of multi-purpose, using all the content, providing it on all the different platforms, because there's lots of people that don't want to sit potentially watch a half-hour face-to-face interview, but they'd love to be able to listen to it on the way to work or whatever it may be. So we've had face-to-face podcasts, shows that got turned into podcasts. Of course, Leading Edge Motorsports. We did a lot of our face-to-face stuff talking about the SuperKarts USA program. We talked to Bryson Morris, among others. Did it for the Rotax Stars and Stripes program. We did it. We did one for the SuperNat Shootout. We had all the tracks for the Stars and Stripes, right, David? All the track owners were on for that program.
Right, the Rotax Stars and Stripes trophy program, yep.
Yeah, that was great. We had Alan Rudolph on to talk about the SuperNat Shootout. Of course, that all made it to the radio network as well. One of the cool things that you went back, and speaking about 16 years and podcasts, you went back and grabbed some of the audio from our old Happy Hour with Howden shows, and I think I just flicked over to EKN Radio at one point just to check out what was on or whatever, and I heard my voice, and it was like, I'm like, where is this from? And then it was Blaney's voice, and I'm like, whoa, we're going way back. We're going deep.
Yeah, it was like,
that was cool.
It was we had, I think among the episodes that are there are the originals, which was the Stars of Karting finale in 2005 from Austin, Texas. That was at the Iron Rock Raceway, which was located right at the airport in Austin. So we had that episode. We also had the SuperNationals later that year, as you said, with Tim Blaney and myself. I think Alan Rudolph and Ron White were guests on that show. So,
didn't we have Ron White on the first one as well?
Ron White was on, yeah. So he was on the first couple of happy hours. I mean, he's a superstar. He's still winning.
It's the tornado.
Still winning.
He's still winning. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Beating kids he could father.
That is so true. I don't think while we're here, we'll just take this. I don't think that Ron White probably gets the credit and the props he deserves, man. This guy's been running 125 shifters for 20 something years. Was a SuperKarts USA Pro Moto Tour champion. Of course, Stars of Karting race wins. Went over, ran for Factory CRG in Europe. Now has his own team, Ron White Racing, and he just won the Rockfest West. I think, did he end up winning the race there as well?
Won the race, mind you. It is at his home track in Sonoma, but to be able to beat all the other kids who call that home now too, it's
that's it.
That's a great feat for the longtime CRG driver.
So coming up, though, on the EKN Radio Network and what David's been kind of playing, we're going to, of course, have this episode of This Week in Karting. We had our face-to-face interview with Greg Jasperson from Cup Karts North America. We'll get that there. Is that streaming today, David?
That's playing right now as we record.
Right, yeah. Okay, we'll keep doing that. Of course, live, the EKN Live stuff is going to be up there as well, the 2020 U.S. Rotax Grand Nationals. And, of course, David, as you said, got to knock out a couple of Outlap preview podcasts this week as well.
Yeah, our outlap for the Cup Karts Grand Nationals at Newcastle Motorsports, or Grand Nationals 4, Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals 4. That outlap will be hopefully recorded tomorrow. We'll get that up on Wednesday, and then we'll do a SuperNat shootout. We'll tape that Wednesday and get that on the radio for Thursday. And then all of those will be on podcasts available by at least Friday morning.
Wow. You're knocking it out. Good stuff, Dave. That's awesome. All right, here's what's coming up, folks, on EKN in terms of the EKN Trackside Live. As we said, David is going to be at the Cup Karts North America race, and I'll be at the SuperNat Shootout this weekend. We'll give you the exact links. We have the two different EKN Live channels, so there's going to be live coverage of those audio-wise throughout the weekend as well. David will get a week off to kind of chill out a little bit on Columbus Day, and then, dude, you're back on the road. October 16th to 18th, you're going to cap off the United States Pro Kart Series, heading back down to GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville.
Yeah, excited to get back there. I was just in Charlotte, but didn't get to make my way up to Mooresville. But I always visit there since they opened in 2013. So I've always had at least one trip there, multiple trips in years past. But this will be my one and only trip in 2020 to Mooresville. Excited to see the series wrap up at the for the USBKS program at Mooresville, which typically it used to open at Mooresville. So this will be the opposite end of the championship spectrum, and it'll be cool to see the 7 championships crowned that weekend.
That's 2020 for you. Black is white, white is black, up is down, down is up. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I am black and you are white.
I have no idea what's going on. This is crazy. We do appreciate you tuning in to the ECAN Radio Network. If you have not yet downloaded the ECAN Radio Network app, do that on iTunes and Google Play. Get that so you'll have the stream right on your mobile device wherever you are. Great way to do it. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff through YouTube as well. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, hop over there and do that ASAP. We'd love you to give us a subscribe for us. We thank you for that. We're going to do a lot more content straight to YouTube as well. But as always, everywhere we go, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We leverage those heavily on race weekends. And of course, as we said, coming up this weekend, we will have our EKN Trackside Live events from Texas and from Newcastle. David and I won't be side by side, so I'm not sure we're going to be doing any of our Facebook Live debriefs. But otherwise, David, I'll just throw this out there. Good luck this weekend, dude. You're going to get back aboard the CRG with Marshall Martin. I want to see a race win. Get up there, buddy. On the podium. Let's hear this.
You know what?
Podium.
We could possibly do a ECAN debrief.
We could do
live.
A face-to-face.
We'll call it a debrief live, but we'll be
live.
in two different areas. I mean, we're already in everything we've done from March until, Pro Tour was the only time we saw each other, right?
No, dude, we could do it. You're
so
right.
That's an option. Hey, we just brainstormed on air live.
That may happen. That might happen on Saturday night or even Sunday night. We'll see. We'll play it by. No, you'll be there Sunday night. You're not driving home yet. Yeah, let's talk about it. Get ready, folks.
Yeah,
we're winging it. All right, we're done, folks. Hey, Dave, thank you so much. Good luck this weekend again. Everybody at the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals event, good luck. I hope you have a great time. Always a tremendous race. I really wish I could be there again this year. I'm sad that we're not able to do our second edition of the Burger Smash. I would love to have raised some more money again for Riley Kids. We'll get that back again in 2021. But a shout out to to Greg and Mandy Jaspers and everything they're doing. Of course, Steve Vermeer for that event as well. Shout out to Dave McIntyre. Another congratulations retiring this week as well. So Dave Mack will be on the mic at the Cup Karts North America race alongside Randy Kugler. David Cole will be racing. Everybody root for David. I'm not racing, so you can root for David. It's okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, otherwise,
hashtag I've already beat Rob Howden.
Hashtag you've never beat Rob Howden, and you haven't, and you'll have to wait till 2021, my friend.
I'm not really worried about it, but that's okay.
I know, neither am I. That's the thing. Folks, thank you so much for joining us on This Week in Karting. Have an awesome day. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.